It's true that we can modify, control nature, but we have no right to torture it, and we have no right to destroy it. And it's not even intelligent to do so because our kids will be left with nothing, sick and hungry.
It's like you've been blindfolded for many years and then you take the blindfold off. Well, my name is Oscar and I'm 34. On my role here, I'm basically the farm manager. I manage the staff that works on the land.
I'm Daniel. I've always been an architect by training up until the time when I started this project here. When you come from the world of architecture and you care about sustainability, you realize that you're competing against yourself, because the most sustainable thing to do for an architect is to never build anything else. You yourself come into question. And so permaculture gave me a pathway of redemption about my own profession and my own life path.
I started my journey into plants within the cannabis industry, and I got very interested in the growing part of the cultivation. And it was through cannabis plants that I learned how to cultivate plants in general, how to implement technology into the growing of plants. And little by little, I came to know permaculture through YouTube and in the internet. I went firstly to do a course in hydroponics and greenhouse technology, one of them in Wageningen in Holland and another in South Africa. And then I started looking at where could I go to learn permaculture. And I decided to go to the Jeff Lawton's farm in Saituna, New South Wales, Australia. And it was there when I completed my knowledge of how to recycle and upcycle and all the permaculture issues. My motivation was drawn by the concept of permaculture, that I decided to implement permaculture in this farm so we could have basically a platform where in the future we could teach others how to do and design a farm around permaculture principles. It's looking to design systems that can uphold themselves and be sustainable for themselves, and at the same time generate stability for us and for the environment, and at the same time abundance, which is in essence independence for humans. That's why permaculture is coined that way, because it's permanent agriculture.
The house is at the innermost origin of this project. Financially is the place where we acquire the necessary money to later invest it in the farm. Guests use the house as an overlooking window to the permaculture farm. Whether they want it or not, they're already inside the project. If you sit at the table and you eat our food, you're already experiencing part of what we do, which is producing good, healthy, delicious food. And whenever required, we really love to share, because this project essentially is all about sharing.
So in Finca la Gloria, we also do a little subscription called CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. And that same concept is brought to our farm as a weekly veggie box delivery, whereby you get around 10 to 12 kilograms of produce, again 10 to 12 varieties of different plants. And every Wednesday we deliver it to your doorstep as a presentation card for us to be linked with our clients with what is seasonally growing. For us, it's very important to grow and eat seasonal foods and not be so used to willing strawberries for the whole of the year and not caring about if the strawberries come from the other side of the world. In permaculture, we say that we need 100 hours of observing and 1 hour of acting. We lived here in the farm for 1 year, seeing where the prevailing winds come from, how does it rain, what's the erosive force of the water when it rains like crazy. A bunch of those stuff ended up being the limitations that we had in this farm. In permaculture, we designed first water, then access, and then structure. So then our hydrology was the first thing that we implemented, or dams or swales, where we wanted to position all the water reservoirs. So the collecting of water is our main purpose here. And once you establish an environment where you put in water, then you're kickstarting your ecosystem. Without water, there's no amphibians, for example. They're kind of what lets you know that you have a proper established ecosystem. And after that, we started drawing where the access points were going to be. The house was already put in place on what we call the thermal belt. So eventually you're going to invest less energy in cooling or in heating up your house. We position trees and plants perpendicular to the falling of the water so we can stop the erosive force and replenish our aquifers. We are very into making our own compost and our own fertility. We also implement companion planting, so we use other plants to be favorable for other plants, for flavor, for resistance, for resilience. Instead of using fertilizers, we use our own plants and our own weeds. They're actually the ones that tell you what your land needs, your soil needs. So we tend to pick them up and do a little juice off them, brew them for a week or so, and then use them on our plants to fortify their growing vegetative states or their fruiting states. I would say the main challenge in permaculture is the way they see profits. We are more investing in the ecosystem building, and that takes a bit more time. Ends up being profitable from the 5th year onwards. That might be something scary for other people because you're not really assured that you're going to get your investment back up until 3, 5, 10 years. It depends on what you're focusing on. Another one is probably instilling what we're doing in the surrounding agriculture guys.
Conventional agriculture, right? I've never experienced that. But I do have the knowledge that is fairly pernicious to our health. It's destroying resources, squandering them. It's destroying natural habitats. If we're able to reconnect with nature, perhaps our experience in this world is much more meaningful. And permaculture seems to give you the tools to go about doing that.
And also the personal challenge of slowing yourself down into nature's pace. Timing is of the essence in nature, so everything has its time, and that's why you have to plan ahead and be thoughtful of the steps that you're taking towards generating that abundance. I personally see this as the only future that agriculture has to head to, together with other concepts like regenerative agriculture. They're the only systems which are looking at the ecosystem as a whole. The focus in permaculture is regaining your capacity to be a shepherd of the land and decide what you want to do with the land, working with it instead of against it. If we were to do this little by little, every one of us in the valley, we could just replenish a river in a couple of years. So it seems like that's a godly thing to say, but we are capable of doing such things. And also for the young guys, the young generation that's coming up, they need to know that there's a bunch of stuff that's not already invented, and they need to relink with the methods of nature. They need to relink with their own nature. And that's the only way they're going to regain their own freedom and the purpose. Purpose is very important for me to instill to young guys, because they have to know where, as a human, they're sitting on this land. We are so detached of the natural ways that nowadays it's okay to be a dad and not your kid not knowing where an egg comes from.
What attracts me most about permaculture and its philosophy, to call it somehow, it's perhaps the sensible way in which humans are meant to interact with nature. You become conscious of your actions, and you sort of reflect on the impact that your specific actions may have on the world, on other people.
What is my advice to start a sustainable farm? First of all, do it with passion. You can grab anything and make it sustainable or more conscious. Select those things that you're really passionate about. Observe with patience and don't rush it. That's what I did. I came to the realization of I didn't know how nature worked, and that for me was the kickstart of, wow, I don't really know about anything. And money is just a paper. It's not going to teach me how to live, how to grow, how to feed myself, how to be healthy, how to have a human relationship. So it's probably the advice of you turning inside your temple and relinking to what you want and where you want to go. Nowadays I'm more fulfilled of what I'm doing, and I feel more happy sharing meaningful stuff with other people. Yeah, definitely. I think once you come into permaculture and you get hooked, you're never getting back. It could be challenging because, wow, you see that society is driving you to the other side of things, not the nature side of things, the place where everything is done for you, where you have no responsibility of your activities or what you do. But coming back to permaculture brings you back to the responsibility of being a shepherd of the land, of growing your own food, of managing your own future decisions, your own desires. And it's all within the umbrella of permaculture that actually pushes you to be sustainable in your investments, in your family relationships, and not only you. It's more of a community, and that community withholds humans, animals, and plants. So then you're more connected. And yeah, it's never going back.
The simple act of moving out of a city into the countryside and deciding to give it a try, to regenerate the soil we walk on, and to be able to feed ourselves and others from that piece of land, it's already a wonderful tale to tell.